Good morning, Gunjan. And while we wait for them to join, you know what? Forget it. I'll do the Red Bull. I was going to get some coffee. Hey, Gunjan. Gunjan,
Hello, sir.
hey, just looking at your handiwork.
Sir, am I audible?
Yep. Yes. Yes. Durgesh, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, all right, very good. Gunjan, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good deal. Yeah. All right. All right. Link to the meeting minutes. So I'm putting that into the chat. I'm going to open it up and share it as well. So Naveen is with us. That's fantastic. Okay. Okay, very good. And then Naveen, do you go by Kumar or Jane typically?
My official is Naveen Kumar, and so Naveen Kumar would be I would say.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, nice. All right. And Gunjan is with us. Gunjan, I've never asked you how to pronounce your last name. It's just really a tough one for me.
Sir, it is like Paul.
Yeah. No, yeah. Sorry, that was a bad joke. Yeah. Nice. Yeah, you guys can see the meeting minutes now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So, Durgesh, I messaged Pratik in email and in Slack. So he is one of those, he's one of those lazy graduate students. And so, he's probably sleeping in, but I was talking to him late last night. We're making preparations for Pratik to head out to Amsterdam to present at KubeCon. So, and part of that presentation is around, it's around performance overhead for a specific network function, if you will, or a specific um, traffic routing rule. Like, what does it cost to do load balancing, or what does it cost to identify a user that's signed in a cookie, or and then redirect their traffic based on that. We're trying to get granular, and so that's part of the. Hopefully he might join. We can talk more about it. But, and then Gunjan and Naveen, if you guys have topics to chew through, please pop them in. Let's just get organized here a little bit. And good. All right. And Subham is here. Awesome. Subham. Very good. Okay. Subham. Okay. So actually, Durgesh, since while the other guys are preparing their sections, one thing that strikes me that it behooves anyone that joins the community, but I think also in particular you, is to have, and maybe you've done this already, but if you haven't run through the workshop, that's at this address. It's actually workshops. Then that's a very worthwhile task to do.
Yes, please.
Have you seen these before by chance?
I might have. I don't really remember. I'm not sure basically.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. So each of the workshops, basically the labs that they walk through, they all point back to the same GitHub repository that has a set of labs that will have you. They walk you through deploying Meshery and then deploying Istio and then beginning to play around with Istio. The prerequisites for the labs are that you need to just have a machine that has Docker installed, which can just be Docker desktop. So Durgesh, your laptop, is that a Windows laptop or a different operating system?
I have a Windows laptop, and I have a Linux virtual machine installed on my solid state drive, an external solid state drive dedicated for it. And
Okay.
I'll be installing Docker containers on it.
Okay. Oh, very good. Then I think you'll do just fine with the workshop. I think that walking through those will help you get familiar with Meshery, and then it'll also help you get familiar with Istio a little bit. So that's a good. If Pratik doesn't join and we don't talk about the performance testing stuff, then that's a great thing to focus on. Okay, good deal. And then we've got Anand is here as well. We'll list him down. Anand. And guys, yo, hey, good evening, Anand. Guys, say it again, Anand.
I was saying good morning.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, good. I almost slipped up and said good morning. I was so close. All right, guys, so maybe just a couple of general things. One is that we're getting travel accommodations made for Pratik to head out to Amsterdam, so that's fantastic. So that he can present some of the work that he's been doing in the community. Oh, actually, I haven't looked yet, but it would be if you were to go out and look for that talk. I believe Pratik should be up there now. There he is. Aha, that's awesome. That is awesome. I'm just seeing that, so that's great. Okay. And then did anyone else join? Okay, no. So cool. So I think Pratik, and it makes some sense because he's been in the community for about a year or longer. I think he's the first. Well, no, I was going to say community contributor to speak at KubeCon. He's certainly the first student to do that, so that's great. But hopefully he's the first of many of you to Amsterdam. Okay. Next up, Gunjan, I guess you're next on the list. Maybe we should talk about your items.
Hello, sir.
Hey,
Sir, should I start now
please, if
to
you would,
present my works?
please, feel free to.
Okay. Uh, so, sir, recently I added this section. So, it is the new Get Started with Meshery. So, I added some icon here. So, this is basically the bash script for Brew, for Kubernetes, and Windows. So, I added this in.
Nice. Okay. Wait. Do that.
So, yeah.
No. Go ahead. Sorry.
And sir, I'm trying to add some animation in this section. Uh, that's all for Meshery.io.
Yeah.
And one more thing I want to show. So in this section, I added this animation.
How was it making the animation? Was it exciting to see it moving?
Sir, is it perfect or I should change? I should add something in this section.
You definitely got the right idea. This is definitely the type of thing that I was hoping would come forth. Interestingly, and I guess somewhat impressively, you literally drew out the SVG, which is pretty cool. I wasn't even anticipating that someone would do that. The so feedback on this one, if I can, which is if you go to layer5.io/performance as it is today, I'm going to ask for a couple of tweaks, which is, so I'm excited that you're doing this. This is going to make this site a lot more interesting for people. And yeah, if you browse to not to your local host but to layer5.io.
Yes, sir. I'm in my local host.
Okay. Go to the production site if you would. Like in the address bar it would be layer5.io/performance. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah. This I'm in the performance page.
Okay. Yeah, let me send you the URL.
One second.
There you
Sir,
go.
I want to tell one thing, sir. So the here we have the last image. So I think this image is the SBC image. So and this is the whole image. So I at the time I couldn't edit this small needle. So that's why I added this animation.
Totally. This is great. I'm excited that you're doing this. Moreover, I think there's a lot of opportunity for small SVG animations across the site. For those of you who browse other sites, and you can always get something of an internal sense as to how well cared for a given site is that you're on, a given website is, and it just gives you a feel. You just get a feeling when you're on any site, like, hey, is this thing real? How nice is it? Is there money behind it? Are there people behind it? Is there interest? Is there and so actually as I go to give feedback, I'll say this, that for anyone who does user interface work, they have to have tough skin because everyone has an opinion and everyone has feedback generally. And it's almost always the case that someone who does a user interface does that work has to iterate. Like they put something up and then they get feedback and then they get feedback, and then on like the third or fourth time it's like, okay, that's good. So on your first round of feedback here, when you go to layer5.io/performance and you look at the existing SVG, great. Okay, so one of the design principles of, one of the principles of design is consistency, is providing an intuitive interface, and intuition. And having a user interface be intuitive is in part driven by consistency. And so by that, I mean, like if you hover over the learn more about the service mesh specification, when you hover over that hyperlink, that blue hyperlink, I think it will embolden a little bit. Is that right?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. I'm not sure if your page is updating, but for me, but anyway, it's a consistent experience that when you hover over where the mailing list is and it says subscribe, I think it says subscribe. When you hover, it does this little animation. It does this little like 3D. It's like you're depressing the button, the subscribe button, and basically that's the same style interaction that you have on every blue colored button across the whole site. And as a user, you come to understand that, hey, if you click that A, those things are clickable, and B, when you click it, like an action is going to be taken. Sometimes you're taken to a new page, sometimes, or like almost all the time, you're taken to a new page. So my point of saying that is, I think some of this is common sense, or that if you were to think about it long enough, you would say, oh yeah, that makes sense, that that you want to try to keep a similar style and the paradigms of interaction that people have, you want to keep them somewhat consistent across the site. And so my point is, for this SVG, the existing one, it is of essentially the same style as the other SVGs. So if you go to layer5.io, just the main site, and we take a look across the buttons and the small icons that are used on the buttons, they are not entirely dissimilar from one another, or they're done in such a way that actually, for anyone who's interested, like it's kind of intriguing that the SVGs that are on these buttons, the SVGs themselves, there's only one color used in those images. But Gunjan, if you were to zoom in, if you did a Control plus.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually on the main page, if you would.
Yes.
And so, just so that people can see these icons a little bit better, if you can see it, guys, you can tell that like there's a portion of it that's white, but there's a portion that's slightly gray or slightly lesser white. What's actually happening is there's actually only one color in these, and that color is white. But the reason that you're seeing it a slightly lesser white is because the opacity for that particular section of the SVG, in this case the needle, the needle part, its opacity is like 60% or something like that, so that it has the effect of not just being kind of a boring flat white thing. And so I don't know why I'm telling you guys all this. It's just as a point of interest about how SVGs are kind of neat, and you can programmatically control its color. You can programmatically control the stroke, the width, the other things. So actually, when you go to the performance page, that same SVG is used. Literally the same file is used. But what we do when we load up the page is that you can use a filter, a CSS filter, to change the fill color for that SVG from white to black. So, Gunjan, this is kind of a long way of me saying what would be ideal. What would be ideal is if you were able to take the same SVG and and animate its needle a little bit, actually the ideal effect is that it doesn't move by default, because actually, I don't know how many of you have ever watched a PowerPoint presentation from someone, and they're going through the presentation and like they've used every animation in the book. They've got like things flying in from over here, and then the pop up, and then this fading, and actually it just ends up being totally distracting from what they're saying and from the presentation that they're giving. That the power of the animation, or the trick to using the animations, is that they're subtle and that they accent what you're trying to get the user to focus on. Gunjan, the ideal would be if we're able to take this same SVG, animate that needle such that when the page loads, it looks like it does now. But if someone, either if someone hovers, or maybe a different maybe when the page loads, but probably ideally if they hover over the icon, that the needle would go from like 70% where it is now to like 100%.
Okay.
And then when they move their mouse off, so when it lost the on focus, it would just go reset back to where it was, or something similar to that. It doesn't exactly have to be what I described, but the biggest point is that like that we're using the same SVG, the same image, because it has consistency with the rest of the site.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
And
but,
sir,
yeah.
sir. Hello. Sir, one more thing I want to talk about. Sir, in this Docker hub, so when I was visiting this site, and so I went to some other Docker application. So in this section, do we need to mention all the tags? That will be, I think, that will be convenient for other users to use the particular.
Oh, yes. Say that again. You were saying, hey, are we missing some information? Is that what you're saying?
Sir, may you repeat again, sir? Actually, some internet issue.
Yeah, were you saying, hey, we might be missing some information on this page in Docker Hub?
No, sir. Actually, it will be good if we mention the tag, all the tags. That is, it is Meshy linker. So if we mention that Meshy linker tag, that will be convenient for other user to use particular tag or something.
Oh, I see. Yeah. If you go back up to the top, where it says overview and tags, when you click there,
Yes, sir. Yeah.
I do get what you're saying about potentially having information about the tags and the associated Meshery version that those tags, line up with.
Yeah.
Like on the overview page, that would be convenient. There's a little bit of a technical challenge there, and that is that I think it's conceivable to do. The thing, you're right that improvement needs to be done here. The thing that would actually be much more helpful to our users before we get to what you just suggested would be versioning of each of the Docker images. So the project itself, Meshery, is in a little bit of a bad spot right now. Okay, very good, Shubham. The project is in a little bit of a bad spot right now because each time that we produce a Docker image, and we produce a container image, a Docker image, every time that a PR is merged. And we push that up to Docker Hub. Actually, we produce a container image every time that someone pushes a commit to any of the repos. we create an image, but we only ship it to Docker Hub when a PR, when that commit has been included in a pull request and that pull request has been merged, then that image is pushed to Docker Hub. The problem with what we're doing there is that there isn't a difference between is that anytime that we make a merge, do a merge, the latest image goes up on Docker Hub. It's tagged with the latest tag, and immediately anyone who's running Meshery can be the recipient of that new container image. Because when we're running Meshery, when you guys are running Meshery on your local machines, there's an image, there's a Docker container that's running. It's called Watchtower. It watches every so often. It reaches out to Docker Hub and it looks for a new image, a fresh image. If it finds a fresh image of Meshery or any of the Meshery adapter containers, it will pull them down and it will update your local running environment. On one hand, that's really good because you just get continuous updates. But on the other hand, it's bad because what the project today is not offering people is versioned releases. Really, Anand knows this well because really the only thing that's versioned in the project is Meshery CTL. And Meshery CTL, its release, the release of Meshery CTL is controlled. It's controlled through tags that are done in GitHub. But that isn't the case for Docker images. We publish a new version of each of the Docker images every time that a merge is done on any of the repos. And that's okay if that's like an edge channel, if that's like the beta channel, but it's not okay for like a stable release channel. Does that make sense? Because you normally want, for a stable, you normally want to have like, hey, here's the nightly builds, and here's where you can go get those, and be aware that they might have bugs. And then, hey, here's this slower moving, longer lived, stable, I keep saying channel, but like stable distribution. We're missing that, Gunjan. Actually, that is a much more important thing to work on for the project. It's something that we've tried to get a few different contributors to help with, and people have been interested, but I think they get, it's a hard one, and no one has delivered it yet. I'm not suggesting that Gunjan, you should take it on. I'm just saying, hey, actually, instead of doing that work that you were describing, there's some work in advance of that that would be a lot more important or a lot more helpful.
Okay, sir.
Does everybody know what I just understand and agree with what I just described about like an edge channel and a stable channel? Okay, yeah, Anand, you get it.
Yeah, so
And Durgesh, that kind of makes sense. Is like, hey, if you want to be a beta user, you can sign up to use the beta. So I'm going to give, since we were just talking about Docker desktop, I'm going to share an example of what I'm talking about. I think you guys all get it. I'm just so I'm running Docker desktop. I'm running a Mac. I go to the About screen, and actually the channel that I'm using for Docker desktop, actually this is surprising to me because I didn't realize I was doing this, but I'm running the stable version of the software. That's surprising to me because I usually run the Edge version because I'm looking for the newer features. But that's an example of kind of what we need for Meshery. And then Anand is suggesting, hey, we can use, yeah, Anand, totally. You're on the right path about like using container tags as a way of facilitating different release channels. And to the extent that it's of interest to anyone there is a design document inside of the Meshery CTL. Inside of the Meshery team drive. There's a design document that talks about how we would go about creating, leveraging tags and some other things to go about creating different channels. I'm going to share that document. I'm going to put a link to it in the chat as well. And I'm going to put it into the meeting minutes, just so that. But yeah, it's an important one. So Gungeon, yeah, very good. So just build and release strategy document. Okay. And so let's move on to our. Okay, yeah, that's very good. Yeah, no, Gungeon, you're on the right path, man. That was a great suggestion. Nice work on the SVG. That was exactly the type of thing that I was hopefully that you would do, and let's keep iterating on it. Naveen, maybe over to you. Let's talk about.
Okay, so I was just assigned the issue today. So I was looking into this, looking on the 61st issue, I guess. It is, I guess, just changing the config file, the path of the config file, and will be fine in this one. But regarding to the issue number 36, which is replacing the Istio installation with Helm, I guess in the installation guides of Istio, currently, let me present it to you.
Oh yeah, yep.
So in Istio guide here, it is like the Helm installation approach will be deprecated in the future. So should we go with Helm, or should we like try Istio CTL instead?
Oh, that's funny. I hadn't realized that the community was turning away from Helm. So, well, so the nice thing about using Helm in general for Meshery and the way that Meshery installs service meshes is that that's the most common way of, like, most of the service meshes have Helm charts, and so that's helpful because it becomes common code for us once. That said, if they're not going to be supporting Helm and those charts won't be maintained, then it's not a good direction to go, and that's somewhat unfortunate because it means more work as we support. In Meshery CTL, what would be of interest and what might be fairly easy, but what would be of interest is if there's a Go client for Meshery CTL, or if there's a way to import the Meshery CTL package and then leverage that package, or if they have a pre-written Go client that we can use.
Okay. Istio CTL, right?
Yeah, right. So
Istio CTL.
The parallel example is kubectl.
Kubernetes. Yeah, Kubernetes Go client.
Exactly.
So I don't think here it is. Istioctl / istioctl.go.
Yeah, I'm looking. Oh yeah, actually, just like 3 months ago, there was a It's funny. One of the community contributors, actually, Niraj, he had a blog post published on. Okay. Oh, very good. Okay. Thanks, Durgesh. Talk to you soon. He had a blog.
Thank you everyone for inviting me for this chat. I have an exam right now. Otherwise, I would have like stayed for a while. So I'll be leaving for the day, and I'll join you guys in the next meeting. Right? Bye.
Nice.
I'll get. Thank you.
Good luck on your exam. Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. So Istio Client Go. Client Go repository. Nice. Access to the Istio APIs in a Kubernetes environment. The generated Kubernetes informers and client set in this repository make it easy for developers to create controllers and perform CRUD operations for all Istio custom resource CRDs. So this is good because this is something that we're gonna generally want to do anyway. Beyond just installing Istio, we're gonna want to interface with its configuration and do some things. So yeah, let me put a link to this in the meeting minutes because this is a great resource. Cool.
Okay. So yeah, that was it from my side. What I could look through and went through the code and understood what we are doing. So if we are going with this, like, should we not generalize the code base for every other adapters which we will be implementing in future?
Yeah.
So in case they also like go away from Helm, then we should have a general framework. Like, these will be the basic commands which we require, and we need to get it somehow. And so it should be basically independent of whether we are using their own implementation or using Helm. So it should be a set of functions on interface. There should be a common interface. So I guess that is what I am suggesting. Like for Linkerd, there should be like some predefined steps which we turn into function. Yeah, in the template.
You're right. That's right. That there are universal. Well, and as a matter of fact, there are operations that a Meshery adapter should perform, and many of those are universal. There are some of those that may not be implemented, that we may not implement for a certain service mesh, and that might be because it's inappropriate for that service mesh, or it might be because we didn't get to it yet, or you know. What was I going to say? Is that, so you're right. There's some duplicative code between each of the adapters that we would do well to like create a common library or a common set of that, like that interface or that code. The reason I'm bringing up the Meshery adapter template is that I'm not sure if this, or so I would say, Naveen, great suggestion. We've done a little bit of effort toward that suggestion in the past, but that effort is incomplete. And this particular repo, I'm not sure if this repo is a generic version of the existing adapter code base that's just been templatized, or if this repo is in fact that effort to pull out the common code base and have this as a common to me, this look. So I'm not sure. We'll have to look. But does that make sense between the difference of what I'm describing? This is like a templatized thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. You're right. Okay. So but then specifically, like as you look at the Linkerd adapter and you look to do the Linkerd installation through Helm, that is a good example of reusable code, like installing a service mesh through Helm or installing a sample app through Helm. That happens. That happens a lot, and is potentially that's highly reusable code. What won't happen a lot, or rather, what might happen more than once would be the use of a CTL, the use of Istio CTL, and us using a Go client for it, the use of Cube CTL and us using a Go client for it. It's a common pattern. It's a common paradigm. We might at some point use Linkerd. Linkerd has, I think it's just Linkerd is the command line utility. It might have a Linkerd Go client as well, like a Linkerd CTL, if you will, Go client. It's a common pattern. Unfortunately, I don't know. Yeah, you could have a reusable interface, but the code behind it is unfortunately still going to be client specific or CTL specific.
Yeah.
So keep iterating on, keep thinking about that. Maybe take a look through this adapter template repo. Understand, which type of, understand what this one is. All the while, if you're able to get traction on, oh, I'm sorry, did I say Linkerd? I think you're working on the Helm install for Meshery, right? So I'm sorry, the Helm install
for Istio.
Istio, yeah. So in the meantime, as you think about generalization, in the meantime, it is highly appropriate for you to use the Istio CTL Go client within the Meshery Istio adapter.
Okay.
And
cool.
as you do that, as you go through it, you would then, it's actually probably only after having done that would you have a better idea as to like what a generalized interface might look like, and also how much of that, like, in fact, how much of the generalization effort would in fact be worth it, because you'd start to get a sense of that.
Okay.
Now there's a since we're on this topic, there's another contributor that we should talk a little bit about the work that Gunjan, hey, we'll see you later. Thanks for the, he dropped off, okay. There's a guy, Kanishkar J. He is looking at a similar area for leveraging kubectl. So I'm not just. I guess it's good to mention that. Let me pull up the issue that he's working on. I'm not sure how much, if there's any collaboration that can be done. I don't know that that's necessary. But it's good to be aware of his work, what he's about to do. So Kanishkar is taking a look at this issue right here, 704. Let me demonstrate what he's working on, which is when a user browses to the performance page, if they have these adapters connected, whatever adapters they have connected, when you're going to do a performance test, and you're going to give it a name, and you're going to say, you're going to put in the URL to what you're going to generate load against, that when you would go to identify which, or if that service that you're going to generate load against whatever that is, if that's running on one of these meshes, then ideally this interface is, ideally Meshery is aware of that. Meshery says, well, hey, I'm aware that you're running, you've got Istio deployed and Linkerd deployed, which I do in my environment. I also have other adapters connected. I have the Citrix adapter connected, the network service mesh adapter, and the Octarine, but I'm not running instances of those service meshes. I am running an instance of both Istio and Linkerd, and so there's an endpoint that's called that will, I believe it's just scan. Hold on. Let me do this again to make sure the scan gets called. Okay, this URL here, /API/mesh/scan, it does a quick call out to Kubernetes. It uses the Kubernetes Go client to call out to Kubernetes and then look for any deployed service mesh. And if it finds, it looks for the certain service meshes, and if it finds them, it tries to pull back their version number. And so that Kubernetes Go client, the results of it, that scan, are exposed through this endpoint.
Mm-hmm.
And then the UI, and then in the UI, what we do is we say, well, what meshes are connected, and then we highlight, we put those at the top and highlight them, because Meshery should be aware of what infrastructure is running. So I guess it's it's related to what we were just discussing about Go clients, but
Yeah, we can I guess a general approach towards Go clients, like it might require some time, but yeah, we should have a common interface related to all the functionalities which can be provided by Meshery and the adapters with respect to different service meshes around there.
totally, yeah, it's absolutely worth the time, because I mean, there's already 6 adapters, and there's 3 others that are intended to be written, and so yeah, you'd want to reuse. We'd want to make it consistent. So I'm having some Green Bull this morning, apparently. Yeah. This sugar-free stuff will get your heart racing. Got to be careful. So Naveen, this is great, man. I'm excited that you're looking at the Istio adapter and enhancing it. Naveen, there's actually a specific issue that we're facing right now, and it is that as you look through the adapter, I'm pretty sure you're going to find that we have hard-coded or pinned the version of Istio that Meshery is deploying. I think we've pinned it to like 1.3.0. And
yes, it was.
Okay. And that's because I think the files, the Istio distribution package, some of the YAML files, their file names had changed. And Shubham had actually run into this issue in the workshop that we have. And anyway, the adapter hasn't been updated. And so right now it's pinned at an older Istio version, which that's not good. So as you're going through there, that's something else to take a look at, if you would.
Yeah. Actually, it is, I guess, issue number 31. Or 61 it was, which I took.
Oh, okay. Oh, nice. Okay. You already, very good. You're already aware.
Yeah, so I guess it was.
Yeah, it's kind of a separate. Cool. Very good. Okay. Any other?
Yeah, that's all from my side. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Anand, I don't know if we've gotten to you yet. Share. There he is, Anand. All right. Oh, and well, I guess I just skipped Shubham actually, which I shouldn't have. I didn't mean to. But so yeah, either of the two of you guys, I guess. Oh, nice. Yeah. You know what? So Anand, as you look at that, I forgot to come back and say that I think we had probably a broken link to the image. I'd done a little bit of work there. I think we might be okay at this point. If you go do a couple of quick tests, so on the social networks like LinkedIn, when people share the work that you guys are doing, they might share a link like this to Meshery, and it's really nice that when you're looking at the timeline and you're looking at a link that someone has shared, that it shows an image, because those get more attention. It's easier on the eyes, and sometimes they use an image, and sometimes you can control what image you would like for social networks like LinkedIn to use. And so Anand, as you look through there, look in the front matter of those pages, under collections, pages, and then like performance, Meshery, etc. That there should now be, I'll show it to you, but there should be a new section in the front matter that controls this. I'm trying to think of the other URL here, like landscape is another one. So between this and like the Twitter card validator, this is for Twitter. The two social networks, they display things a little bit differently. But I believe that we're, at least for the most of the things on layer 5, I think we're okay. Anand, it would be very helpful if you confirmed on meshery.io, because we should have images for those. What was the other one? Meshery, right? Okay. So I'm going to share the code base real quick, just as a because I think Anand, like, I'm probably one of the culprits here. I probably end up being one of the people that ends up breaking the links from time to time because I'm moving images and code and things around in the sites. And so this is a good reminder to me as well to like of how this is controlled, and for anyone else who's contributing on the site. So this is the layer5.io site. When we go to collections, there's a collection of like prominent pages. A page like the community page, I don't think it actually has an image that we're sharing, and that's, oh, actually it does. It's this image here. It's just the generic community. It's the layer 5 logo with the community tagline. So if we look at like the Meshery one, it's this here, this front matter where we say image, and we're saying the size of the image and the location. That's the part that's controlling what those social networks are showing. So performance is under the projects folder, performance. right here, this image, the path, and I only set the width in this case. This thumbnail is being used differently. This is just a custom piece of front matter that I had created. Because when you go to layer5.io/projects, instead it needed to be a white SVG, not a green SVG. Or I'm sorry, that's not true. It needed to be an SVG, whereas the social networks, they don't like SVGs, they like PNGs. So anyway, so Anand, yeah, very good. Maybe Anand, if you would check on Meshery.io, because oh yeah, it is different. And I don't think any of that work that we just looked at, Anand, I don't think any of that is in Meshery.io. And I haven't really been testing those links as much, so I'm not sure if they actually work. So, okay. Cool. Share.
Hello, Lee.
Hey, Anand.
Hope my voice is clear now.
I can hear you.
Yeah, actually, there are a few more issues. Like if I can present.
Please.
Yeah. Hope I'm presenting.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, so first of all, like for Meshery.io, this is the thumbnail or card that we will see for now. It's showing the Meshery default page.
You know, Anand, I sorry to interrupt, but I'm only seeing a blurred image of like a Firefox icon. I assume.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, so there is a problem. Actually, I'm using Windows because my laptop broke a few days ago. So
Oof.
I'm using my brother's laptop.
Oh, sure.
So can't share my screen now. So thumbnail that we can see here is which is present on the main screen of Meshery.io. Yeah, the first image that we have in Meshery.io, that's the image that we get.
Okay, this.
Yeah, this one. So for thumbnail, this image is coming. So I will change it. I think by tomorrow.
Okay, got it. Yeah, this one isn't. This one isn't horrible to be like if someone were to just share a link to Meshery.io. This is a decent image that sort of represents what the project is. It's not bad. It is slightly outdated, but yeah, equally as good would be an image of the one of the logo images.
Yeah, actually, if we share the link to the social media then I think this image won't be good. The Meshery page, the Meshery logo will be better than this one.
Oh, I see. Okay, sure. It makes sense. Because yeah, this one is not like later on. If we were to have, I think yeah, if we were to get the docs site over, and someone were to go to like /management or something, that might make sense to show that screenshot. But to your point, in general, if someone's just pointing to the root Meshery.io, showing the logo is probably most appropriate.
Yeah. So there are some other issues that I was going through. Like one of the issues that I was going through was the bash issue, which was very confusing for me. Like is it still open or it's closed? What are the bugs if
Yeah,
it's open? It's
right.
confusing for me.
Sure. I believe, I think we are all closed. So, as a refresher for everyone else, that one of the ways that you can install Meshery is using bash, and the command had been this curl command. And at one point, there was a permissions issue with that was having us include the use of sudo here, which can be scary for a lot of people to have sudo to just execute this command on their system, because they don't necessarily know what all is going to be run by this script. And if it's asking for root level privileges, it's kind of scary. And so, yeah, Anand, I think we're all done. What's happened now is that, whoops, let me go grab that script. What's happened now is that the point in time in the installation script where we were running into the permission issue, as you well know, is when we were moving Meshery CTL into what is sometimes a protected folder on Linux systems. And so I think it's this check here. It's sort of, if this move is successful, then we're good. If not, then let's go ahead and attempt a sudo, and basically we'll be asking for user permission, sudo permissions right then. And in this way, we're only asking for sudo permission, root level permission, as and when needed, which is sometimes the case and sometimes not the case, depending upon the user's system and who the user is. Sometimes the users are just running as root themselves, and so.
Understood. The binary, the ownership of the binary is changed, or it's still the same?
Let me share again. So when people download the binary, we didn't change. Okay, thank you, Naveen. Yeah, we'll talk to you soon. Okay, very good. When we didn't change the permissions of the file in the package that the project creates, so I'm not. When the user downloads and unzips the package, it's the same as it has been in the past. Is that what you were asking?
It's a little bit confusing. No problem with that. I will look into that by myself. If I still have a problem, then I will go.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.